Your call has been forwarded to an...
Yo.
Yo, what's up?
You're probably gonna in the fucking jungles. Hello?
Hello? You're in the jungle?
In the jungles.
Oh shit.
Yeah. The foliage. This is talking with plants with Kevin. As I rub my phone into lavender. This is what lavender sounds like.
It sounds more like gravel.
Hear it gravel sounds like?
It sounds more like gravel than it does plants.
That was gravel.
Dude, I just cooked with sage.
This is what sagebrush sounds like. That was relaxing.
That was my experience as well. So I had some fresh sage and made some like gravy, some mushroom gravy with some sage. and then I baked some biscuits, and that's why I was late to this stream.
Did you add rosemary?
I should have added rosemary, but I didn't.
This is what a yellow flower being pollinated by a bee sounds like.
Bzz, bzz.
Scared away.
Ugh.
Scared away.
That one sounded weird. It sounded like the bee came.
This orange flower. That's a pretty flower.
This is the soon-to-be Netflix programming. Sounds of Nature with Kevin. Still there? I think he probably got buried.
You have reached the voicemail box. Your call has been. Please leave your message.
You have reached the cell.
Please leave your message.
Greetings, my friend. We are all invested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Reese.
How's it going?
I'm good.
Good. You're
How's it?
you're on my you're on a live talk show.
I am, huh?
Yeah. How's it feel?
It feels well, about as surreal as everything does these days.
That sounds about right. I've called you a few times.
So,
I started to think maybe you just don't answer your phone.
oh, you called our regular phone?
Well, I've called your cell phone off and on. Not today, but other days, trying to get you to inadvertently be on a talk show.
So what's the general topic of the talk show?
Well, the show's
Talking
called
with famous people?
Yes, the show's called What You Up To? And
Yeah,
it's where I call people and find out the hard-hitting question, which is, what are you up to currently?
Are there any? Let me get right to the chase here. Are there any prizes involved with this talk show?
Well, there have not previously been any prizes, but I don't see any reason to expect that there won't ever be. Maybe if you really nail it.
You have some corporate sponsorships, maybe, that we could tap into.
Not as of yet, but it's show's still early.
You're working there.
It's still young, a young show.
Right. Am I actually the first person that's answered the phone when you've called?
Oh no, there's been many a person to. As I said, you've been a desired guest. I'm actually surprised you're picking up. I have to assume you don't answer your cell phone much during the day, or maybe when you're at home you turn it off and just use the landline. Is this correct?
You know that, in all honesty, the cell phone is sort of I consider it sort of an annoyance and
Sure.
maybe a safety device that I take when I go walking, but in general, I don't use it very regularly.
Right,
so
I see.
This is it's an honor that I picked up.
Yeah, it's an honor. The show, as I said, a much sought after guest. So have you been out hiking every day?
I have been.
Yeah.
And today I got to walk in first thing this morning because actually it's been raining off and on here. So I got to walk in this morning and then we had a wonderful walk Sunday morning out on the Centerville Beach. It's one that you would enjoy. And
okay.
All of your listeners would probably relish the thought that it actually passes an old listening post. What's
that mean?
Well, it's during the Cold War, the military had, this was one of a number of these listening posts that were positioned along the coast, and they had listening devices. What would that be called? Sort of
like surveillance?
Sonar.
Sonar.
Because they're listening to the sounds of the engines of Russian submarines, and because they had multiple locations, they could actually triangulate and establish the exact location of the sub.
And this was early in the Cold War?
Yeah, well, actually, it didn't close down until 1991, amazingly.
Yeah, well, I guess the Cold War went all the way through the 80s, or into the 80s.
Well, yeah, about 91 was when, I think it was when you're right, that would have been a little after the Berlin Wall came down,
right.
And when Gorbachev, all those changes started to happen, and I guess at that point also the Russians got wind of what they were able to do with these listening posts, and they modified their subs so that they couldn't be
so
vulnerable to that. So anyway, yeah, the walk goes by that, which is now just sort of a picnic area, but it used to have up to, I guess, a couple hundred people stationed there, and
interesting.
And then it has some old shelves and fossils from 2 million years ago when that area was 1,000 feet below the current sea level.
Ah, okay.
So all sorts of interesting things.
Huh. We just
So-
watched the mushroom documentary that I feel like family was talking about last time we were in town. I guess must have been Christmas or something.
Right.
And yeah, they were talking about how they've found fully formed mushrooms in fossils like nearly a million years old, something like
Wow.
that. Did you get a chance to see this yet? This documentary?
No, I saw the previews.
Yeah.
So I had we went to the Minor Theater back in December when such things were possible, and the preview was quite amazing. All the time-lapse photography that they showed, how the growth of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And
every other shot, I would say, is a time-lapse photography of a mushroom growing. Some of them
that was the review.
Yeah.
That got a little bit redundant.
Yeah, the documentary itself, we both really enjoyed it. It's definitely worth it. There is a lot of beautiful imagery, and it has a lot of really interesting information and stuff, but it is a little bit cheesy. They kind of lean into the hyperbole of, fungi saving the world. And at a certain point it focuses on this guy who's done a lot of great work in the world of fungi. Can't remember his name. But anyway, near the end you kind of realize he's pushing a business of selling various fungi, what do you call it, like
additives,
supplements and stuff. Yeah,
supplements.
Yeah, and I mean, even to the point where he basically suggests that one of his mushrooms cured his mother's cancer, and it feels a little, I don't know, I'm always skeptical of anything.
It's a little bit too much like our president, sort of operating on the basis of hunch.
Yeah. It's a little bit of that, but nonetheless, it is a fun documentary, worth checking out. I would say you have to buy it from the website or rent it off the website.
We are next in our queue is to watch Trip Camp.
Oh, that was great. That? Really liked that.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic documentary. Absolutely, very inspiring and moving, and just a great storytelling. Yeah, you'll like that quite a bit. That's on Netflix, I think, right?
Yeah, in fact, I started watching it last night, and Amy said she wanted to watch it too and wanted to watch it with me. So,
yeah, you might as well.
It may be in parts that she's maybe felt like she's been in a crypt camp for a long time with me. So
I've been thinking about I wanted to ask you actually, if you have any idea what's going on with the big trail, with the Pacific Trail. Like, are people still, because people must have been out on the hike when stuff started getting shut down, and I just wondered, like, if you've heard from any blogs or people or anybody, what is happening? Are people still heading out on the trail? Part of me feels like it's a good time to do it.
Well, so the Pacific Crest Trail Association, and they sort of manage the permit system. They made a decision that it was, and I think based on good information, that it was not good to have people on the trail because if they were carriers, they potentially spread it to these remote communities that have minimal health services. If they had it themselves and got sick on the trail and had to be airlifted out, then it takes a tremendous number of scarce resources.
Sure.
And then trail towns are sort of closed down. I mean, so when they relied on going into adjacent towns to the trail and resupply.
Right.
Those towns really don't have stores open or minimum
Right.
services. And so they took the stance right from the beginning that you should postpone or cancel your time
hike.
on the Pacific Crest Trail this year. So they shut down any information about the PCT, the Facebook pages on the PCT. There are a bunch of Facebook pages for each year,
Mhm.
and they shut those down. So there's just, I think, they've done everything in their power to discourage people from getting out on the trail.
Yeah,
That
it all
being
makes
said,
sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That being said, there were, in fact, people out on the trail, in fact, including one sort of high-profile incident where a young man died, fell
He fell.
from not too far from not right with Idlewild in the San Jacintos, and fell to his death. And of course, this was in late March, and his father had tried to talk him out from going, but he was determined to do it,
Right.
and sort of, not because of COVID, obviously, but ended up being sort of a poster child for why he shouldn't be out there now.
Right.
Because then it took all the resources to go rescue his body and deal with that. And
Sure.
so
Yeah.
I think that's there are people on the trail. There are people, but they're being shunned, I guess,
Yeah,
this week.
that makes sense. Because I guess I mean I remember when you did a section with Howard maybe
Oh, Jim.
or Jim,
Oh,
yeah, Jim actually, Peacock. And and I remember there were like I think we dropped you off at a spot where people were I feel like it was like an older friend of yours was like had people would mail supplies to them,
right,
and
right,
then and they'd even have people
right,
kind of stay in their backyard in like various
right,
places. And
exactly.
yeah, so I guess they wouldn't, I mean, you'd be putting them at some kind of risk
At
or
risk.
yeah.
Yeah. So places like that, which was called Hiker Heaven, and in the past they would have up to 50 people a day. Well, in close quarters, close proximity, it'd be
Right.
that would be a natural place for if any one person had it to transmit it to others.
And then what a nightmare. Like you said, I
And then
mean,
what a nightmare.
you couldn't
Yeah.
you'd be in so much trouble if you got really sick out on a trail out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, so I guess I'm hoping, and they're talking about the possibility of June 1st of opening the trail up, but selectively. And I don't know exactly what that means and how that would happen, but
Yeah.
I think trying to be pretty careful about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scheduled to go on a week-long trail work in the Olabolis, which is a wilderness area sort of south and east of Arcata, for a week. And in the past, we've had everything horse-packed in, but this time, if we do it, and it would be the end of June, we would each have to carry all of our own stuff. We'd stay in our own tents. We'd cook our own food. We would work away from each other.
Right. So you'd essentially be backpacking on the trail, but doing work along the way.
Yeah.
And are there heavy tools and things that you need, like shovels and?
Well, yeah, there are
machetes,
some, which is
saws.
Well, saws. We take shovels and things called Pulaskis and McLeods, which are tools used in the backcountry. So the hope is that we don't have to carry those in, because that'll make it much more difficult.
Yeah, because you'll need water and you'll need all your gear.
Yeah. Well, and we'll end up base camping in a place where there will be water, but yeah, it becomes a lot more complicated.
Sure, and then the distancing as well. Everyone kind of camping a
Right.
little bit away from each other. That seems you're gonna feel like you're on a chain gang.
Yeah, won't be feeling that way. So anyway, that's what's going on in the backcountry.
Are the trails around your place are they open, or like the one that you enter in through the that little public park? There's an entrance.
Yeah, they are open, but everything up here is open. The beaches are open. Everything is open.
Are they crowded?
And people are no. I think that's why they can be open. We just don't have the press of people, and there's plenty of room to do the social distancing.
They're
thing.
very big. It's a little bit different than some of the trails around here, where there's a lot of room. It almost feels like the size of a paved highway or like a paved road almost. Like it feels like there's enough room for a car even, on a lot of those trails.
Exactly. And I haven't been using single track trails. But I have been going out and doing road walks and beach walks. And, recently we went up to the Bald Hills, which is part of Redwood National Park, and walked there, but we took three. There was another couple and then another friend, and we took 3 cars. And we walked in, and it's sort of a road, sort of a dismantled road, so there's plenty of room to spread out, and that worked just fine. And then Amy and I took a beach walk with another couple on Mother's Day morning, and that worked out just fine. And so, I think one of the big advantages of living where we do as opposed to where you guys do is that in this COVID world, it's not nearly as difficult to do the social distancing thing.
No. Yeah, it's specifically in our section in Los Angeles County. It's wild. Even right now, everyone's getting we had like a heat wave for a week. And it's beautiful now. It's like probably, closer to what it is around you right now. It's like in the 70s and 60s. And so everybody's out all day just walking around, and it feels like, no one has anywhere to go, but everyone's out and about.
Sort of like zombies.
Yep, basically just all kind of trying to avoid each other. It's a weird feeling right now, but yeah, I think about that with my parents are out in kind of a more, rural, more suburban part of Talmadge. And it's funny though, because some people in Ohio, some of their more like, for lack of a better term, Trump voters are like, they're having clashes with, these people who are their friends about like them thinking that it's a hoax, like that the whole pandemic is basically a hoax, and like asking if their kids can play with my sister's kids and stuff. And
oh, really?
My family
come over and play.
Yeah.
Oh
my family's taking it, incredibly seriously, and won't do that. But apparently they get met with a lot of opposition of just like, like they're worry warts or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the opening up goes in terms of recurrence of the virus.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I guess they're saying they're thinking about kind of keeping. I don't know. Everything's a mixed message as far as what the plans are. Gavin Newsom's been saying that California will be open again in weeks, and Mayor Garcetti is now kind of pushing back Los Angeles County not being open up until uh, midsummer.
Oh wow!
So it's just hard to know what's happening. The group that I tour with was planning on, forever ago, had booked a tour for September to November that I was supposed to go on, but we, are now feeling like it's pretty impossible. But I don't know. And then, because there are other even more mainstream music acts and things that have shows scheduled in the summer. But
yeah, scheduled in the summer. Wow.
Yeah,
I must say that sporting events, music concerts, theater, movie houses. It's really hard to see how those are going to open up until there's a vaccine. I almost feel
like you said, if
they might open up,
hikers
but
are shunned,
who's going to go?
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling, is that even if people go for it and find venues that will hold concerts and some people go, I feel like a lot of people will really look negatively on anybody who's having concerts or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
because I guess the collective challenge is it potentially endangers the whole community.
Right.
Because once the virus spreads, then each one of those people in attendance has contact with
right.
30 other people, and wow,
right.
all of a sudden
they infect 3 people.
New York City.
There are not.
Right.
Are not. I think that was what it's
right.
called. Yeah. Oh well, I feel like I've kind of settled into this, so what can you do? Although we're trying to figure out what Cheese is gonna do for school coming up.
Yeah. I'm sure they're trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of everyone's waiting on everybody else to make some kind of decision, and we're all just waiting on the virus to decide what it's gonna do.
So would you go to Santa Cruz, or would you stay in LA? That's the $1 million question, I guess.
Right. That is the question.
Going.
It's basically, so I'm basically just forever back and forth between 2 schools of thought, which is that if we are quarantined, I would 100% I want to just stay with Chisa, wherever that is. If it's Santa Cruz, if it's here, because if we're just staying here because the whole term is online anyway, whatever it is,
right?
Then I want that. However, if something were to change and cities started opening up, I don't really want to be in Santa Cruz while Chisa's busy with doing TA and school, and in a smaller college town, just as things are opening back up in my city with all my friends and collaborators and things. Then I'm definitely going to want to be back in Los Angeles, trying to get some things going, because it's been so long before since I could work on projects. There's so many projects we've both had to just kind of let go for a while. But I don't know. It's feeling like in some way or another the quarantine is going to continue, at least through the fall semester. So it's just tough, because it's like, to commit to an apartment with just Chisa, where it's just the 2 of us, then I'm committed to that, because we can't, gonna need me to carry half the rent and be around and like doesn't
right.
want to be by herself, like going to school and everything. Whereas like to commit to a place here instead, and then she said maybe get some roommates, some other grad students or PhD students to live with. Then I'm committed to that. And then if there's another quarantine, then I'm stuck in in an apartment
Right.
by myself.
And not knowing
feeling like a
anybody
big
in
dummy.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, exactly. And feeling like, I can't come and visit willy-nilly because, Jesus got roommates and they don't want, this deadbeat boyfriend coming around. Coming around, cooking up a storm in the kitchen. Yeah, so I don't know. We're trying to figure out. We're basically looking at places like rents are dropping slightly in Los Angeles. It doesn't look like they're dropping quite yet in Santa Cruz, but we're expecting them to a bit. And so it's not the end of the world. Either decision is not like the end of the world. If I do a year in Santa Cruz, even if the quarantine were to be lifted and I just had a little bit longer in a small college town, I could always still come back to Los Angeles and on the weekends and stuff or whatever. But yeah, so it's not really a huge deal. We're just basically trying to figure out what's best for Chisa and for me right now.
I both I mean I really enjoyed the spoof on the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's being done elsewhere too, but it just seems like right now it's the mother lode of opportunity. I was thinking how you could expand it in terms of spoofing family gatherings on Zoom and other things. Seems like an endless mine.
Yes.
Mother lode to mine.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want to start making some more videos. It's funny because Chisa's actually so busy right now. I am not. I'm not super busy. I've just been writing in the mornings. I get up and I do like clean up a little bit and then write for like 3 hours. And then I'll do this show for a little bit. And then I'm, just basically bugging Chisa, cooking stuff. Oh, I did. I cooked some, we got some fresh sage from a friend's garden.
Fresh sage.
Sage, yeah. And I made some mushroom and sage gravy. And then and then baked some biscuits this morning. Oh, some good stuff.
Yum.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've been baking like
needless
everybody
to say
else?
that we've been well, let's see. Amy has been into spruce, pine, and redwood tips.
Oh wow!
The very green new growth, and using that as a flavoring, and it has sort of a citrusy. So she's made some spruce tip shortbread and spruce tip hummus, which wasn't so successful, but but that's been good. And then we found some oyster mushrooms, or she did, that we ate, and then
oh really? How were they?
They were delicious.
Wow!
You just got to make sure they're oyster mushrooms.
Do they look like
not something else?
Yeah,
it's pretty clear. But
is it? How can you tell?
Yeah,
just comparing pictures online.
Well, after you eat them, if you're still alive, that's a good sign.
Yeah, just playing Russian roulette, mushroom roulette.
Yeah,
I would.
These were oyster mushrooms.
I can't. I mean, obviously, I haven't dedicated any time to it, but I wouldn't trust my. I mean, I've looked at them a little bit and just felt like I don't see the things. I've always been bad at identifying things. I had nearly failed geology just because in the labs I could not identify the different rocks. I would like memorize the different characteristics that the rock was supposed to have, and I would be like, all of these rocks have the same characteristics. I don't.
They're all hard.
They're all hard,
and they hurt when you hit your head with them.
They taste the same. I don't know what to do with these things.
Well, we actually had some friends that had tried them before us, and they survived. So I think that helped.
I see. Okay, you've got as like a king.
So
you have somebody
it's like having a taster.
Yes, a taster.
Right.
Or the royal taster.
Right. And I of course made my oatmeal raisin cookies, and
we've been making a lot of oatmeal pancakes. So many pancakes.
So I've heard. So I've heard. You probably got the recipe memorized. Like
I do.
You're a real Hughes. You're a real Hughes now.
I can whip that thing
up.
That's
the sign.
No problem.
that is the sign, because that's what all of the Hughes kids, myself and my siblings, all know it by heart. I think so.
Yeah, and Emily now too. Next time we're all together, once this thing's over, we'll have to have a three-way competition. See who's got it down the best.
That's right. It'll be
I haven't always had buttermilk, and I've had some good success with Greek yogurt instead of buttermilk, and it's been
and then I sometimes have used regular milk and then used a little vinegar in it. So,
I bet that gives it some tang.
Yeah. So that is one of the things of this COVID period is the art of substitutions.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to say that we've done a lot of substituting.
I have as well, and I've had some stark failures and some very pleasant successes.
Surprises.
Yes, absolutely.
I hate to admit that they're surprises, but
yeah,
surprises. So that's and when Melan was here, she was fattening us up with cookies. She's making a lot of cookies, and then she also introduced other things. Yeah, like other dangerous things like Cheetos, potato chips.
We've been really good about not doing snacks.
We've been good, except when
Melan came and
doing
corrupted
some of the food purchases.
Yeah. Anytime I've been in the grocery store, I've really fought just because I could just immediately picture myself with not much to do and a bag of chips around, and I know where that road goes.
So after about 5 days, and you're surrounded by a pile of empty bags of chips.
Of course. We've been trying to walk, but I really miss having the climbing gym to go to. But yeah, we're getting a good 4 to 6 miles in a day. At least I am.
That's great.
Chisa does.
But Chisa said she's been pretty consistent, although I'm guessing she's not getting that much in. But
she really definitely been consistent. I tend to do my walking while listening to podcasts, and Chisa tends to do it while like talking on the phone. Yeah.
So we also have started doing the Tibetan Rites of Rejuvenation. A little.
What's that?
Sort of five yoga pose sequence of things that's sort of a combination of exercise and stretching.
Okay.
And that's been probably good. So in so many ways, we're healthier than we've been in a long time. I guess we're trying to make sure our body's in tip-top shape in case we get COVID-19.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Well, that's good. You gotta work with what you got. and this is the time to do these sorts of things, especially if we're going to be eating cookies and chips.
Yeah. So I know that one of my challenges having the discipline to keep writing or doing that kind of creative work.
Okay.
So that's an impressive thing about your approach. And if you've been writing 3 hours a day, that's impressive.
It's yeah, I got back into it. You know what I read I started doing it, and then I started really kind of getting curious about like what other people have done in the past. Like what's a reasonable amount to write in a day? Because there's kind of the feeling I've had like I've had good stretches of writing longer pieces, usually when unemployed. And there's still kind of the feeling when you're writing that like you know, if I were a serious or a real writer, I should be doing it like all day, like a full-time job. And you start getting down on yourself if you're just doing it whatever as much as you can. And so I started kind of looking up other people's, like other famous writers' routines. And I was really surprised to find that not only did almost everyone have a very similar routine, but it was also quite similar to mine, which was just get up, have it be, let yourself wake up however you do with coffee or just some chores, and then let it be the first thing you do. Almost everybody had that
Really
bit of
get started on it.
just
in the
get
morning.
started on it. And another thing that I found helpful that a lot of people mentioned was don't read too much of what you've already written. Don't sit there and try to edit what you worked on the night before. Like maybe read the last couple sentences that you wrote and then just pick up right there, because like you can really waste that little bit of early morning creative energy by picking apart what you just did, and it's really just kind of a way of stopping yourself from moving forward. So you really just want to try to just keep going forward. And honestly, everybody basically was like, yeah, I write for the morning, a couple of hours, try to get a couple of pages in, and then from there I get tired and my brain just kind of gets tired and I put it away. And I think that's a really big thing that I found super helpful, was just allowing yourself to use the rest of the day for whatever else, anything else besides writing, because then your brain kind of charges back up. Like you can really get discouraged by if you just keep opening the piece up a couple hours later and kind of be mad at yourself for not being able to really get anything good. Or maybe you type a paragraph out and it feels bad because you're just tired and it's not there yet. So you really do yourself a lot of good by just working really hard to just get as much out as you can in a couple of hours. And then you kind of know when you're just done, when you're just ready to stop, and just stop for the rest of the day and get up early the next morning. And after you do this a couple times, like it becomes the best part of my day. Like it becomes the just kind of peaceful
part you look forward to.
Yes, the peaceful kind of like a reason to go to sleep fairly early, and I mix it with my first cup of coffee. So it's really just kind of my just a nice calm meditative
Right. You create a habit.
Yes, it's all about
and an
habits and
association.
patterns and things
Yeah.
like that. And then and you can just, in knowing that you're gonna do it again tomorrow, like you can enjoy the rest of your day then, just feeling like, okay, I got this one thing done. Day's not a waste.
Right.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend that.
The thing is, and I probably, what I should stop doing is I do probably the first 30 minutes of the day as I read. So I read the news, read the New York Times, and I read the local paper, and then half hour's gone, and I think that's probably when I should have gotten started
Absolutely. Just
right
change
from the
it.
start.
Just change it around where that news isn't going anywhere. So just change it where you do that second. I guarantee
Uh-huh.
it actually is just better for your brain as well, because like you're engaging with something, even if you're just reading the news, like you're forming opinions, you're getting filled with emotions. You know what I mean? Like the frustration, you'll feel powerless as well. All those sorts of things when you're reading the news. And it's best
Well,
to
and
just like,
it's really just a distraction too.
and it's a
From the
distraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that stuff will be there. Like because I still definitely do the news after I'm done writing. I'll definitely do some reading, listen to some radio programs or something afterwards, and it kind of grounds you anyway. Just being kind of insular for the first part of your day. And I'll I'll yell at Chisa if Chisa's suddenly putting on watching some Instagram video, and I'll be like, use headphones. I gotta do this, because
Yeah,
I don't want
right.
I don't want to be I don't want that intake. I don't want anything to get to come in and distract me from whatever. Just
Mhm.
trying to just be creative and free thinking for a bit. Anyway,
So
try
I
switching it
thought
around.
about of doing a little journaling through this COVID period. And of course, I should have thought about 2 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, I think it's going to be hard to remember some of the details
Absolutely.
of
It already
of
feels
this
so
life.
dreamlike.
Yeah, right. I already have forgotten a lot of the early feelings and things like that. But so I really thought I want to make sure that I record that.
Well, that's another big tip that I would say maybe one of the primary things. There's so many reasons to not write or journal or do something creative. Our brains are really good at figuring out reasons why not to do something. But
Mhm.
the one thing that constantly is a fight is the feeling that like I should have already been doing this. It's too late.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it's really funny because like you said, if you get into that pattern just a couple of days in a row and you kind of already forget what it was to not be working on it. You kind of the brain is pretty easy to trick into patterns and habits. And before you know it, you really the only way to stop feeling like, oh, I should have been working on this, I should have been doing this, is just to concentrate on actually doing it.
My father, this is Midwestern wisdom that your dad probably shares with you every once in a while, but he always said that the old farmers in our area often plant hedgerows to use as windbreaks, and the farmers said obviously the first best time to plant the hedgerow was 50 years ago, and but the second best time is today. So that's his
That's
way of.
exactly right. Yep. That's it.
Well,
that was good.
I hope you haven't been recording all this because, my God, unless you're planning to use it to help you go to sleep at night.
Oh yeah, this is live, so people just kind of come in, come out as they wish. Not many people listen, but it's kind of at the same time. So yeah, it's I would say this is one of the more interesting ones, and the majority of not the majority, but every one of these starts with about 10 minutes of me just calling people, waiting to see who picks up. There's a lot of ringing at the beginning. So if you get through that ringing, this is, music to your ears.
I won't even ask you how many people you tried before you got me then.
Oh, so many. Today was a rough day.
Yeah.
I started a little late today because I didn't time up my cooking well, and I told you I made that sage gravy, and I
Right.
needed to eat before I could hop onto the live on the radio.
Well, I'm honored. I look forward to maybe a future call
Yeah.
too, and I promise I'll always answer if I'm carrying my phone.
All right. Well, I'll check in, and maybe just like last time, after like the 25th call, you'll pick up, and it'll be built
Yeah,
up again.
okay.
All right. Thanks, Reese. That was
All right.
really
All
good
right,
talking
Brian.
to you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye, everybody.